going to call the meeting to order for the Board of Water and Wastewater Commissioners at the Harwich Water Department at 196 Chatham Road, Harwich, Mass. for Thursday, October 29th, 2023 at 11:30 a.m. We have no executive session, no one here for public comments and announcements. Consent agenda for the minutes for August 25th and September 21st, 2023 will be tabled till our next meeting. Abatements, 2 Lakeshore Drive. So Dan, this just says due to a one-time disaster. Do we know what the disaster is? What happened?
Yes, they did show, it was data locked, there was a leak in the irrigation.
This is an irrigation leak too? Okay. So the total amount assessed was $4,589.93. Total amount requested is $628. So they're looking for an abatement for $628? Well,
so I did the calcs just per their request, and when I look at everything being billed at the lowest tier, the usage alone is $1,047.96.
I don't see that. All right, so 1,000.
Yeah, $1,047.96 plus the base rate of 45 would be $1,092.96.
92.96 plus. Okay.
Dan?
Hold on a second. So, all right. So that was. So the 45.89 were the regular tiers for what? How many gallons? That over 40,000? So that was the 435.
I'm sorry. How many? Can you ask that again?
The water usage on this was
738,000.
All right. So that was at tier 4.
Yeah, everything over the 40,000.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a tier 4.
All right.
Dan?
Maureen.
I'm sorry. What would have been the normal amount? I see the previous one was 73,000, so this number you've given us of 1,047, is that the full 738, or did you deduct? I mean, but wouldn't there be a normal bill of about 400 anyway? You know what I'm saying? On all, spread over all the tiers? You know, normally you do that, you look back at the 3/4.
That we typically do for if we have to estimate a read. So this was an actual read of 730,000.
But what I'm trying to say is that even if we agree to this, which we may not, but it seems to me the normal bill should be about 400 or 500 anyway, and then the excess beyond that would go at one tier. I think you're giving them too much of a benefit by putting the full 738,000 at tier 1.
I'm open to...
Oh, okay.
So.
But you know what I'm saying, yeah.
So.
But the question is, do we do it anyway?
So, to go back, the bill is $4,589.93. The numbers here are 628,115. What are those numbers?
These are submitted by the property owner.
Okay, all right.
I can't discern what...
Okay. So, for me personally, for the only thing I would even consider is cutting the bill in half.
I know what the numbers are. I believe they're referring to, they want 628 plus 115 equals the 738. So I think they're putting gallons, 628,000 gallons, the amount requested 115,000 gallons, which is similar to
their
previous bills.
So they're using gallons to the numbers. Okay, all right.
Gallon,
okay.
Not dollars.
Yeah. Yeah. So for their request to be billed at tier 1 is not on the table for me anyway, and for that amount of money, especially first of all, an irrigation leak is just an irrigation leak. It's on the homeowner. So, if anything, I would contemplate cutting the bill in half. But what's the Judith?
Can I ask a question, Gary?
Yeah.
Yeah. So could homeowners and their landscape, whoever puts in these kind of systems, put in their own sensors to monitor, and so like they know within, I mean, I know, I've seen it inside of buildings, but is it outside, is it too difficult? I don't know.
No, it's called a water cop or something like that. No one makes it, everybody, yeah, you can put it on.
Okay. And how much do those usually cost?
Install probably about $1,000, between 800 and 1,000, maybe a little less.
Okay,
Depending
you can
on
like
which
have an
brand
app
you got.
on your phone kind of thing?
Yep.
Yep.
Did you say $1,000 or $5,000?
One.
Can I make a motion?
Yeah, you can make a motion, no, you can make a motion, and when it's, yeah.
Did you want to say something?
We're gonna have discussion after the motion.
Oh,
Yeah.
so I make a motion to deny?
All right, so there's a motion to deny, is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll put it to a vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
I have a quick question on that same one. So what were you telling us with these charts, Dan?
So this is the data log report from the meter. So this is showing the daily usage water, that flows through the meter of the property.
Right,
So you can see, the tall bars are indicating significant leak.
right.
The little red asterisks are leak flags. That means the meter detected that there was a leak.
So not these things?
Yeah, even those. And
Wasn't there anybody there?
They were traveling, it says, right? That's when they were traveling, the other one's traveling.
I don't know. But, so my question is, those leak flags, why didn't we notice them, back on June 30th when we would have been, I'm going to assume they went back into, say, June 15th. Just curious.
I'm not, so I guess with respect to this, it may not have been captured in the last meter read cycle, if
Right.
it is in fact an outdoor irrigation leak.
Right.
We aren't able to get this data, we're not made aware of the leak until after we read the meters and there's a leak report that comes in.
Right.
And then, we've actually had a couple town accounts that have reached out, said, hey, my water bill was,
I remember.
5 times what
Yeah.
it was supposed to be. And then at that point, we usually go back and data log
Right.
to gather the 90-day history to see when the leak started. And
So, for 1 second, I'm just trying to understand this data. Let's say that this date that says June 30th, let's say it said June 15th, right? So bring it before the last reading. So you wouldn't see this at all? I mean,
it would, so Wellesley goes through and there's a leak report that is generated
Okay.
when we do the meter reading. And she
Right.
goes through at that time and generally reaches out and notifies accounts that
Mhm.
have the leak flag. But we don't get this data until we go back to do a subsequent data
Okay.
log.
so this party did not show up on the leak data from the late June readings?
I can't say
Okay.
definitively
We're
right
not
now
gonna
without
see it
going back.
until we take a reading. So
Right,
this
but
is-
we
in
took, we
June.
took a reading in June 29th or
Yeah.
thereabout, that's what I'm talking about.
But it's not instantaneous, it takes a while for the
Yeah.
data to come through, right? To
Well,
get
And it
into the
also
It could have
depends
been 3
on,
months,
it also depends on the degree of leak.
Right.
There was a leak shown here,
Right.
intermittent leaks. I'm just trying to read through the dates. But then you
Back in
see,
July.
something really
Yeah.
occurred August through
Yeah.
June.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So it,
yeah,
even if-
August through September, 2 months.
Our meters don't detect it right away?
we don't have a direct connection to the meter for that information to be relayed back to
Okay.
us. So there is fixed network metering, which is kind of the next step above where we're at and ultimately a goal for us to get to, where you put up basically cell antennas throughout town and you can click a button and read the entire town, in an instant. But it requires, more infrastructure than what we have now.
Is that what Orleans has? Orleans
As a
has.
fixed network, I think
Yeah,
they have that.
Because I mean, within a day, if you have a bad
Right.
leak, it's gonna notify you.
And I guess when we get to a fixed network, we'll have that capability.
I mean, we've come a long way.
Yeah,
I mean, you should have seen these before.
And we have started looking into that process. One of the first steps that they have to do is like a radio propagation study to see where we have to put antennas up. I believe the decoder meters that we've been installing are all capable of the fixed network. There's still a handful of older ones that we still need to get out of the system, but we've initiated the process with the meter vendor to start looking into what it would cost and what we need to get there.
And do we offer this person a pay plan, or does that happen on?
No, we can always offer.
Payment plan?
Yeah.
Did you just say?
Yeah.
Yeah, by all means.
Oh, yeah,
Sign
both of
them
them, sure.
Yeah. Now, when we've done that,
Didn't vote though, did we?
yeah, routinely, if they need it.
Guys,
I think we still
It's a shame
need
that
to vote though,
I-
right?
I don't know that, I think that's, Wellesley typically can offer
Yeah.
payment.
Right.
Yeah, we've done it.
Yeah, I
know.
In the past, it's not being voted.
Okay.
All right, moving on
But we
to,
didn't vote, did we?
you did, you made the motion.
On the second one?
We're doing that right now.
No, no.
81
Come
Riverside.
on,
So when you said moving on, I was
Yeah,
like,
81 Riverside.
yes.
okay.
All right, so 81 Riverside, total amount assessed was $3,731.77. Total amount requested is $2,000. Again, this is another irrigation leak.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move we deny.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yes. So, what?
I think Judith has something to say. but
Oh, I didn't hear her. She speaks very quietly.
I know, I called on you, and I'm gonna get Judith back.
Okay.
I thought I was in charge of
You
this.
don't need to hear me, you just need to hear
I don't
him.
think I am.
I didn't even hear her.
That's, she's on my good end.
Oh,
On this
okay.
side.
I don't have any good ears left.
You just gotta switch spots with her.
Sure,
You'd be
sure.
like,
Go ahead.
the dad and the
Okay,
station.
so, you know, I'm gonna take a wild guess and say that this irrigation leak was happening when they got their June bill, because they've never had, well, sometimes they've had, but given our rain situation in the spring, you know, I won't say that's an extraordinarily high bill, but it's a high bill for them to get a $1,200 bill the end of June. So, you know, if I'd be asking this fellow, you know, why didn't you question it in June?
Sure would catch my attention.
What'd you say?
And the other times that he had
Sure, we-
extremely high bills were, you know, in the September bill, which would be 3 months of irrigation rather than, you know, like a month and a half. So I'm just, you know, kind of surprised why he didn't react to that one. Is there any communication on that, Dan? Let me look at his, and his leak stuff was well over the leak level for his previous bill.
I would have to draw on Wellesley to see what the
Right.
June report may have indicated.
Well, I mean, if he let it go, he may have let it go just because it was summer.
I actually went to that property,
Oh, okay.
and it was a drip irrigation, and you would have never seen it. The only way we caught it is because we actually heard it, it's not a meter
Oh, wow.
so it's not like an irrigation head that was
Right.
Yeah.
continuously going.
I'm sorry?
It wasn't an irrigation head that was continuously going, it was actually a drip irrigation,
Right.
which was underneath a whole bunch of bushes
Right.
and mulch, because we were helping the person look.
Okay.
Oh.
He didn't mention that you guys found it, and that's an important piece of information, you know, obviously. So, all right.
So we have a motion with a second.
Good ears.
Judith, did you have something?
I just wanted to say thank you for them being homeowner here for 30 years, and I respect that, but again, this is an issue that needs to get addressed by homeowners somehow.
Right.
We've been saying that for 20 years.
Okay, so there you go.
All right, we have a second, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Can I have 1 second? I just got a wastewater thing that
Yeah.
operator's calling me.
Mom's gone. She got me.
What, she hit you?
It's on TV.
Physical, are we being taped?
Yeah.
It wasn't my poison pen though.
Thank God.
That one is this one, right here. Watch out, Halloween's coming.
Hey, so the water for 13.
So Steve, while he's not in the room, we can talk about him. You're basically here for vehicles.
Correct.
Right, so we have that in the capital plan. So we have 2 vehicles on here for replacement.
3.
Yeah, 3.
Or,
It'd be a Explorer, an F-1.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry,
From the yellow.
I'm looking at the
Yeah.
old one, I'm sorry, all right. We asked him back, go 2 vehicle replacements.
150.
it's on this page.
Vehicle
this one,
replacements, that's 3. So I see 3, right?
Plus equipment.
Right. All right,
Yeah, the
so we're looking at the, so for the 2 vehicles in '25, we're looking at, replacing a 2011 Ford 250?
Then you need an erie wrench to shut off the cord for the grinder pump, not the water. They got it built.
Yeah, this page, you
That's right.
broke them out. I know.
All right, thank you.
Next one.
Yeah, no, wait, not Dan's, but we're talking about you.
There you go.
All right. All right. Are you ready?
I'm good.
All right, so the 5-year capital outlay plan for water. We have vehicle replacements. Truck, well, wait for Steve for that anyway. Equipment is the loader. That's the, all right, Steve's back, never mind.
Sorry.
That's all right. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so the one you were just reading off was what was in last year's FY '24-28 capital
Yeah.
plan.
Right, so I put that aside and I'll use this one now. Is this the most accurate one?
The one that says vehicle replacements with the 3 trucks underneath it?
Yeah.
That's the one.
The most, all right, that's what I'm using now. Okay. So we have, truck 12 replacement, a 150 extra cab replacing with a 250?
Yeah.
Well, there's a 250 replacement on 150.
All right. Why are we going down?
That was, you want it?
Well, I mean, he is here. I would like to hear from Steve, so.
So it was a Ford Ranger that was total.
Right.
Because a tree fell.
Oh, yeah.
So we pretty much took that money that was from the insurance and
Right.
purchased a vehicle to replace it.
Right.
It was used and available.
Okay. Do you have something you want to say? You look like you're itching.
That's it?
All right. So we're gonna go from an F-250 to a 150 is what we're gonna do. And that's gonna be for treatment.
Correct.
Okay. And the auxiliary service truck, that's the big one. The one that
Yes.
Jay or Josh drives?
This is
So
right.
we're asking for another auxiliary truck, like truck 1, which would be trading the F-150. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, replacing a 150, yeah.
Alright.
All right.
So we're pretty much looking for a backup truck to truck 1, like another service truck, because when truck goes down to get repaired or it's broken, our digging crew, repair crew is just down. That truck has everything to wastewater mains, curb stops, hydrants, everything on it.
All right. And then vehicle 15, replacement F-150 crew cab or expedition, replacing the 2013 Explorer. I like the Explorer. We'll paint it blue if we have to. If you don't, you know, I mean, would that make it better?
It's more I can't fit any rods or shovels in it at this point. Right now, I do have some of my equipment, like my metal detectors, markup gun, but as far as having shovels or wrenches to shut off the service, I don't carry them.
We'll talk about that one later. All
Can
right.
you put down the back seats?
Back seat has some of the markup equipment and stuff in it, and my fire equipment and stuff.
Not big enough.
You carry keys, bell, wrenches
Right now, I
on
do not.
it? See, that's, you want to though, right? Yeah. They can't,
It seems like
with
the
an
crew
Explorer,
cab,
they can't
Can't get it in
put the
and out.
keys if they
Yeah.
want.
the crew
Right.
cab seems to be the better choice here in light of
Yeah.
that. You know, and worst come to worst, put a cap on it.
Oh, gee. Noreen, please, help me.
Oh, one of
Are
those
the-
funny-looking Mercedes trucks,
Noreen.
right? I mean, they're tall.
All right, hold on a second. Noreen.
Yeah, big money,
Are these amounts net of any trade-in value?
120,000.
These are the full amounts. So, what happens with the
Hey
trade-in
guys, sidewalk.
value?
Noreen.
Sorry.
What happens with the trade-in value for any of these? When you're saying replacing, so what are you doing?
Yeah, so the 250 would be traded in. The 150,
Steve.
Traded in,
yeah, Steve.
the Explorer would be traded in.
Okay, so
At
they,
this point in time, when we trade vehicles in that have this many miles and this age, we
negligible,
usually don't get this far.
okay,
Yep.
yeah. So the amounts are kind of net of, but you're not really, any decent money would be a windfall rather than a planned on. I gotcha, yeah.
And the Taurus was Dan's car.
Correct.
Do we still have that, or did that go back to wherever?
It's pretty much retired at the highway department.
All
I
right.
believe it's waiting to be given back to the dealership or auction.
Okay, but they've taken that back, that's gone. All right. So the front end loader, we're gonna go with the 444?
Yeah, that's what's in the packet.
Yeah.
Would be my suggestion.
Yeah. Well, just so that Noreen and Judith know, we went out to look at the 444, I'm sorry, the 344 on Tuesday, which is a smaller machine. You know what, you were there, you talk about it.
It's just, one of my concerns is that the machine isn't big enough. Moving our six-wheelers, it'll be very close. And I think I did get a measurement, it'll be very close.
Yeah, we did, 111.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to say the six-wheeler that we have now, the top of the sideboard is like 95. So you're cutting it close, trying to load the side of the truck with any fill or anything like that.
Then if they wanted to borrow a truck from the town and fill a,
Yeah.
10-wheeler, they won't be able to with that machine, the smaller machine.
Is there the larger one available?
Yeah, that's the 220. So the 344 was 185, I think it was,
Yeah.
and the 444, which is, obviously the bucket's bigger engine, more power, is 215?
Yeah,
Is it 25,000?
215 is the current estimate. I have 220 on there, just assuming that there's gonna be some change
Right.
between now and...
And we would trade the backhoe in for that machine.
We could trade it in, or we could sell it, outright through one of the municipal auctions,
all right.
depending on where we think we'd get a better...
All right, Noreen?
Did I misunderstand, or did Steve just say that the 444 was not big enough for our needs?
No,
The 344.
Oh, the 344, okay.
Yeah.
My only input to this is that I just feel that in the state of the world we're in, we should get things that absolutely fit our needs, because I think things are just gonna get more expensive and, you know, much more so than they always did, so I would never wanna cut corners at this point. I don't think it does any good.
That's what we talk about when we look at the 340. It's a great machine,
Yeah,
and it does one or two things different that the 444 can't do. But as far as the payload and putting that kind of burden on the 344, the wear and tear on that, the 444 is just gonna last longer than just beating up the small machine, so.
And we're looking at a, 10 to 20 year, 15 to 20 year machine.
right.
Right.
You know.
Gary?
Judith.
Yeah, the right side. In the backhoe, does it not make sense to just hold on to it if it doesn't have much monetary value, just as a backup, or no? I mean, just thinking about, that,
I mean, the cab's pretty rotted. It's from 1998. I think would be struggling just to maintain it, just to have it, just to keep it sit there.
Plus the insurance.
Because it is running right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna load it,
Yeah.
we best to unload it.
Every time we take it out, something happens to it.
How many hours are?
thank you.
I don't know that off the top of my head.
The hours aren't incredible,
Okay.
honestly. It's more the body rot and rust from being, 30 years old.
I'll bet the insurance on it is probably $3,500 a year or something, depending on what they're covering, but,
Yeah, I don't know how the breakdown works.
well, for a truck of that nature, it would have to be insured, in both categories, like as equipment and as a vehicle, so it gets hefty.
And if we're gonna invest this kind of money in the equipment, we need to start looking at like shelter for this, keep this stuff out of weather as much as possible, because it's just sitting out in the weather is not beneficial.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
I know it's on the capital plan, and I'm very hesitant about it too, but when we're investing this kind of money into equipment, and it's just sitting outside, it's just, it's just not really making sense. The other one, Pleasant Lake Ave tank, 1.75, and then, so that'll be 2.5 for FY '25.
Yeah. And the P-Lake tank, the budgetary estimate from the engineering firm is 1.4 million. Just, I would still recommend keeping 1.75, given how bids and everything go. I just think it would be appropriate to have a little contingency.
All right. I see for the space building garage that we're talking about, we're looking at 1.5 for that?
So, what I would say is that's a very weak estimate. And from what I've heard, the numbers have been significantly higher for the space buildings. That said, with the board's approval and buy-in from staff, I would look, if we're going to do a space building, to do as much of the work in-house as we can, because there's really not much to it.
But location, where are we gonna put it?
I was under the impression that, well, here was my understanding that, we had kind of all discussed relocating
Right.
or not relocating.
Right. But then we also have the wells, that have to be outside that well circumference.
We can, so DEP will allow us to build direct, water infrastructure within that zone. I think given that we would be sheltering equipment, floor drains would then be, through an oil water separator, it would ultimately be an improvement from the way we are right now. DEP does want us to relocate the spoils piles, and that's something that is still yet to be ironed out.
Right.
But I think at least having it identified on the plan, and we can work on, codifying a more appropriate budget number and location, but at least it kind of puts on notice that we gotta do something here.
Noreen?
What do you mean when you say space building?
The metal, so if you drive down by the DPW, the DPW building?
Yeah.
That's a space building. The kind of metal
Is it like a Quonset hut, you mean? No.
No, it's a permanent building, it's steel, it's all steel frame, concrete floors, foundation.
Corrugated
permanent
metal
building.
siding.
So it's like a prefab,
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
okay. I never heard it called a space building
Yeah.
before, so.
When you drive down.
Okay.
Great Way?
Queen Anne.
Yeah, Queen Anne.
So,
They're all over.
so it would be a space building used as a garage?
Yeah, garage,
Okay.
equipment, material storage, waterworks supplies.
Okay, so, I mean, are things like Quonset huts and stuff like that from a bygone era?
Yeah, bygone, bygone,
Okay.
really gone.
I don't think you can
Space,
go louder than
the
that.
highway department building is a space building.
I've been in there and I never noticed any difference between,
Well, out back, like, when
Yeah.
you go inside the DPW,
Yeah.
we go
I've
inside.
been to the
front.
office.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you actually went around back,
Oh, okay.
you get a better idea of what it
I will
looks
do
like.
that.
Yeah.
Just
When you
a
go-
metal building, yeah.
When you go up to the landfill, where they park the loaders and stuff, that's a space building. We got a problem
Whatever it
here.
means.
Take you out for a
A road trip,
Field trip, field trip.
yeah, field
Can I
trip.
can I ask a question?
Yes.
Not to be a spoiler, but the front yard, would that space work? I'm just thinking about distance from the wells,
I mean,
not that I would like that front yard to go away, but
I would lean probably more towards our property on the other side of the bike trail. You know, we
Yeah.
have a decent amount of land up there. We could conceivably also relocate material piles.
Yeah,
With that gully with the rain and runoff,
Oh, we
is
get,
that
yeah,
puddle in
that
there?
floods, yeah.
Yeah.
I just had to ask.
been like that for years.
I mean, it could also go right out where the vehicles park in the caged area. I mean, if we demo the 3 garages here and build a space building right there.
All right. Do you have anything, Lorraine?
No, I'm going back to this
Yeah.
one you skipped.
I skipped one. Which one was that?
You were so excited. New well construction and water treatment plant. That's the
Can we
one
jump
I've been
back
waiting
one more?
for. Yep,
The pipe discontinuity upgrade project.
well, that would be good too.
So we have $1.5 million as a placeholder in FY '26. In talking with Steve, I would like to maintain the dollar figure for this time, but retitle the project to address Harbor Road and Mill Road. There's old AC asbestos cement main that is really soft. We've had a handful of issues out there over the last couple of years. It's a really strange diameter water main. There's DOT drainage, underground electric, gas, utilities that go down there. There's also high groundwater, so it's kind of a lot for us to undertake to do that project in-house. But my concern is that we're going to get to a point where we can no longer get repair couplings and materials to fix that. So I'd like to swap the title out so that we can get that project on the books.
Maureen?
So you're calling that Harbor Road and what else?
Mill Road.
Mill Road? Before you said that, what I was gonna suggest was, given the age of the system, I'm thinking maybe we should have a project like this, whatever roads it covers, like every 4 years on the plan, you know, as a repetitive thing. And I know you've passed your deadline for FY '29, but I'm wondering like if we could agree that on FY '30 that will automatically be up. I'm just thinking it might be a good idea to have that money built into our system.
All right, so I have
Okay.
a proposition that ties to both the capital plan and the budget discussion. So, to your immediate comment, one of the things that I was going to go over in the budget is Steve has identified a number of roads that have no hydrant at the end, 2-inch water main. When we did Lower County Road, we stubbed off 6-inch water mains to a lot of the side roads that were smaller. So one of the things that we're doing, or that Steve's doing, is putting together a list of materials so we can start to price out some of those projects. I don't have the numbers yet today for the budget, but it was my hope that we could start beefing up our water main replacement line item within our operating budget to start to iron out those sorts of projects. One other thing that I thought may be a good idea, probably for both water and wastewater, you know, as I was putting the budget together this year for our well rehab line item, you know, there's some years that we may spend 15, 20,000 cleaning and redeveloping wells. One year we may have one well go down. This year we had 3 wells go down between well 2 out back, 9, and well, 7. Instead of, I guess I'm trying to propose an alternative mechanism to fund these sorts of things so that we're not funding it in our operating budget and then not using it, but instead if we did a more general emergency and or well rehabilitation capital article, if we fund it at $125,000, if we don't use it, we can balance forward that article from year to year, but it's sitting there in the event that we need it. And that way, if we don't need it, we're not raising rates to support an expense that we may or may not need. I would say it would probably be, desirable for me to do a similar thing for wastewater. You know, for any sort of emergency thing that comes up, that we have a bucket of money that we can draw on, that we're not taking a general fund subsidy to fund, you know, on a recurring basis. But that way, you know, we can make it last.
Can I answer? Can I answer again? I would support that idea. One of the towns I worked for used that method, not the utility company, they probably should have, but another one did use that method, for instance, even with like facilities maintenance. And it was such an easier way to live, you know, to have, at the time, numbers were smaller, but to have 250 or $500,000 in an article every year, you know, maybe in this case it wouldn't have to be every year, and to not have to picayune, you know, each one of those things as they came along. It worked so much more smoothly than identifying each individual thing, so I would support that.
And it would also benefit us, like last year, we had multiple wells go down that far exceeded our well rehab budget line item. So now we're stealing from other line items, not doing other projects to fund, you know, an emergency repair.
Yep.
Dan, on the wells, of the 14 wells, how many go back, like 30s, 40s, that we're still using today?
So, the equipment's all new,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, but the wells...
The actual well, that's what I'm talking. Have they probably, have the well points been changed over the years?
So, we just had to do that in well 4.
Yeah.
When we cleaned and redeveloped that, was it well 4? 7?
6.
Yeah, it was 4, yeah.
So that
We
was
put the
a-
camera in, and that's where they saw the screen had separated from the well casing.
Yeah. So that was a 1950s well?
I don't know the year it was
Yeah.
constructed off the top of my head.
Uh,
I'd have to commit those to memory.
Yeah, no. But, I mean, everything, probably 1 through 10 will need some kind of work here in the future, at least.
Certainly could.
11 through 14 are pretty new.
But even if a new well, you know, if it's
Yeah.
got high iron and manganese, we're gonna
Oh,
need
yeah.
to go in and surge it and clean and redevelop it.
Yeah, yeah, which we have done in the
Yeah.
past, yeah. That's those wells in South Howard.
I think we've done a lot of them
Have you?
since,
Even-
over the past 8 years.
Oh, yeah.
So we monitor every spring, we go out and take a water level, pumping water level and a static water level.
Okay, yeah.
And you measure the specific capacity of the well. And that tells me whether or not, and you can do a shut-off head test, which is you run the pump at 100% speed against the closed valve. So to do that, you can determine if your specific capacity is dropping off. That means most of the time you need to clean and redevelop the well. So they come in, pull all the equipment, surge it, and then it restores that pumping capacity back to, original.
Yeah.
If we go and we do the specific capacity and it doesn't need to be, we also do the shut-off head test. And what the shut-off head test does is we have the pump curve that, all of our wells have. And at the top of the pump curve, it's an X and Y. At 0 gallons per minute, what should the pressure be pumping against that closed valve? And if it's not meeting the pressure it's supposed to be hitting, that's when we have a worn impeller, and that's when the actual pump itself needs to be overhauled. So it's really two primary maintenance things. It's either replacing the pump itself or cleaning and redeveloping the well. And sometimes it's both at the same time.
Anything else?
Yes, yep. So, I was gonna ask for clarification on the next one, and I'm not going into the next one, the new well construction and water treatment upgrades. But does any of that fit in with the discussion that you just had? Or not?
No.
It doesn't, okay, all right. Okay, so the discussion that you just had would all be like a subset of pipe discontinuity?
For the proposal to have a standalone capital article for wells?
Yeah,
Yeah, so that would be, and concept just came to mind yesterday.
Right.
So I haven't had a chance, I wanted to kind of throw it out and see what everyone's thoughts were. So the new well construction and water treatment plant, that is with respect to the new source exploration and development of our 15th well. What I was just proposing is that we would add another capital article for FY25 for
okay,
well rehab and maintenance for, 150,000. I can't see us needing, at least in the last 8 years, we haven't needed that much yet in a given fiscal year.
okay.
So I think
Okay.
that would be a safe number.
All right, so with that said then on the new source well construction, and that I guess is this, which I'm sorry, I only scanned, I didn't have a chance to read it in detail. But, so this is not exploration, is this construction?
This one would be the construction resulting from the exploration.
Right, and that was, the exploration, was that young lady we had here? Or maybe not quite so young.
I don't think,
No, she was on the other.
Route 28.
She was on Route 28, okay. So, like, right now, we're doing well exploration.
yes.
And who's doing that for us?
GZA.
Okay. And that was the article that was like around 600,000 that was approved last year?
Yep.
Okay,
And that was the second phase of funding for the exploration.
right,
So, and I was gonna touch on my superintendent's report, but we can get into it now. They're planning to come out at the end of this month, so all of the well exploration that's been conducted to date was exploratory in nature, where we were poking holes around the site to try to find the right soil conditions, depth to groundwater, that would seem like a probable location to put a larger production well in. The scope of services that is going to be starting at the end of this month is going to be drilling and installing an 8-inch well casing so that we can do a prolonged pump test, which will determine the gallons per minute yield that we'll get out of this new source.
okay.
But also water quality, things like that.
And I do notice that this construction portion of this project was not previously on the capital plan.
Right.
We probably should have had it there, or maybe we were thinking it might be another year out, who knows?
I guess my excuse, for lack of a better term, is
I didn't
I
mean to
didn't-
put you on the spot that way.
At the onset of this,
Yeah,
there wasn't a clear
yeah.
clear knowledge of when and how long the process was gonna
Okay.
take. So now that we've got to where we're at, if we do the exploration now, they are expecting this drilling and permitting to take anywhere from 1 to 3 years, 1 to 2, 3 years. So I placed this in kind of as a,
No, it's fine by me. When I was new to the committee, I was having trouble distinguishing between all the explorations and which was the real project, and now it's kind of coming together, so that's a good thing, so, thank you.
All right, anything else with the FY 25-29 capital plan? I think we covered everything.
I do.
Noreen?
Well, on, I guess, is it this sheet that's like our capital plan?
yes.
So at some point, and maybe it'd be better if, I could make a list like for next meeting with Dan's help. We need to vote off, the 10 million, and we need to clean up some of the other numbers.
Well, that's what I was saying. I'm assuming the draft FY 25-29 capital plan that we have here, this is what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, and I would just throw out for the board's consideration, as opposed to going, line by line.
Right.
You could adopt this
That's my plan. That's what I was gonna do.
As-
Brilliant.
as amended, I may ask, for the Mill Road, Harbor Road, and potentially adding a well.
Well, standalone.
If that's the board's pleasure.
Okay, but, did you say you wanted to add a standalone article for wastewater also, or is that too early?
I do, and this is the reason. So, one of the situations that we've had, really the only one that we've had to date so far, was on Church Street North, pump station. I haven't, for whatever reason, pump didn't start. This was a month or so ago, wastewater operators went out, they were able to get the pump station up and running. That then discharges the wastewater down to Church Street South. At Church Street South, the device that measures the water level in the wet well is an ultrasonic level transducer. So there's a device at the top, and it's mounted inside of an 8-inch PVC stilling well. The way that the ultrasonic device works, it shoots an echo down the 8-inch pipe, bounces off the wastewater, and comes back up. What happened when Church Street North was flooded to 10 feet and then pumped that down to Church Street South, which then brought the level up to 10 feet. When the water level then drained back down, the scum layer that was on top of the wastewater fouled up the inside of the stilling well, which prevented the ultrasonic transducer from measuring the wastewater flow. So the SCADA system was reading that we had 10 or 12 feet of wastewater in the wet well when it was already pumped dry. In addition to the issues with the fact that the pump didn't fail over properly, the solution that I've put together for all of this is we're going to put in an additional backup float control panel that has actual floats in the wet well, so that in the event that the ultrasonic fails again and the pump doesn't start, that there's an analog, if you will, ball float that will trip and turn on the pumps. That is, I want to say, $19,000 to do the 4 stations that we have. I have a collection system maintenance line item in the current fiscal year funded at $20,000. I don't foresee a need to do jetting, washing, because we still have a brand new collection system, but I would like to have access to some funds in the event that these sorts of hiccups on a brand new system present themselves in a given fiscal year, that we would have the resources to take the necessary remediation actions.
So that's a wastewater. And let's just hold off on the wastewater for a second. And let's let's just get back to the water, the capital plan. And you want to change the discontinuity upgrade, right? You want to change the name of that to what?
Harbor Road, Mill Road, water main replacement.
Middle Road?
Mill.
Mill Road. Mill Road replacement?
Yeah.
All right. And you wanted to add what?
A well maintenance and rehabilitation
For when?
for 20, I mean, ideally it would be 25. If we do it in 25, I would then remove that line item from the budget.
What do you have in there right now for how much is the line item?
The line item right now is 60,000.
And what's the pros and cons of removing it from the line item and putting it on the plan?
If I leave it in the budget and we have a year without any well issues, we raised we raised water rates, or we're setting our water rates
okay,
based on
all right,
anticipating,
okay.
spending this
I
money.
got you. All right, that makes sense.
So repeat what you're adding again, just for me.
I would say well rehab and maintenance.
Right. And that's in FY '25?
That would be my desire, yes.
Right. Can I go back just a half a second? When you said Harbor Road, Mill Road water main replacement, is there any way we can keep the words, I don't know, it sounds like a brand-new project. I wish it was somehow related to pipe discontinuity, you know what I'm saying? It becomes an awful long title if you try to keep both.
I mean, we could just leave pipe discontinuity. I can double check the size of the water mains there to see if it's applicable, but if it is, we
Right.
could just put dash Harbor Road. No.
Right.
I was saying parentheses, can we just do Harbor Road right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it and just put in parentheses, Harbor and Mill.
Yeah.
Or whatever, you know what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say,
Yeah,
just
I'd
so,
rather
So it doesn't look as a whole new. 'cause
Right.
I'd rather just do that.
yeah.
And then the well maintenance, well rehab and maintenance, we would add to the capital plan and remove it from our budget.
Yes.
All right. So,
And it would be my request to do somewhere around 150,000 there, just given, in hopes that it lasts several years, right? The goal is to have,
all right, so before we vote on this capital plan, how about we next meeting,
Yeah.
we have it written down, we actually have it on paper, and then we'll vote to approve or amend the capital plan for FY '25 through '29. Okay?
Perfect.
All right. All right, let's move on. Is it everyone else set with that? All right, let's move on to the wastewater.
Yeah, no, same page. Take your time.
Yeah.
so I was just trying to check the date that FY '25 through '28 were due to be submitted to Town Hall. It looks like they're due by November 3rd, just keep it back from minds when we set the next meeting date.
Does that give us enough time?
Pardon me?
Does that give us enough time?
Yeah, we can do it the second.
Yeah.
We typically have meetings on
Yeah.
the Thursday.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I'm not gonna be here.
Well, we've essentially agreed.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
you
fine with,
can,
yeah, I'm fine with whatever you guys.
you can submit, and, we can approve the whole plan at the meeting after
Yeah,
that,
that's fine.
unless anybody has any problem with that. I don't see any.
I could actually, if I had to call in, if I had to.
I mean, if we're good with all the edits.
Right.
I mean, you
So
could
should we
conceivably
just
vote to
vote
approve
to-
it pending.
For wastewater, what are we doing? We're looking at $65,000. Are we amending anything on wastewater?
Yeah.
Well, that's a new,
A different one, isn't it?
yeah.
So should we just do a vote then for the edits on the draft plan?
I'm fine with it.
Fine.
To make a motion, or?
So the wastewater is just the 65?
And the
Oh.
standalone for the float system and whatever you want to call that stuff.
I would say it's much smaller. I see the needs being less. I would say we could probably get away with 50 to 75. Again, I think would be healthy to have as an emergency wastewater.
Wait a minute, what item was that?
So as I was noting how it would be nice to have an emergency well rehab.
Oh, yeah,
For the
yeah.
wastewater,
Yeah.
also it would be nice to have an emergency wastewater.
Or pump stations
Yeah.
or whatever, yeah.
So we'd seek to add another article, capital item for wastewater for FY '25 for pump station improvements.
For about 75,000, sounds good. You know, I just had a,
Or emergency pump
I-
station improvements.
yeah,
I guess, the reason I'm, trying to frame it, because, from here, it's gonna go to FinCom, capital outlay, TA, public, and I just want it to be understood that these are intended to be for emergency
I don't think I like the
situations.
word improvements in
Right,
that.
it's an emergency,
Service?
it's emergency maintenance article, to have money accessible should
Sure,
an emergency arise.
Just, you know,
Yeah, and just improvement sounds like you're doing something you
Right.
don't need to
Yeah.
do.
nothing on the,
Something,
Pick another word and put it
Yeah.
in there.
yeah.
rainy day fund.
Wastewater emergency.
Get him.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
You know, I just had a crazy, really crazy idea, but, when you think about it, we wouldn't be able to have wastewater if we didn't have water. Actually, wastewater owes the water department some percentage for all of its treatment plants, pipes, everything. I mean, that's not a topic for today, but you know what I'm saying, is that you couldn't just build a wastewater system if you hadn't already invested in an entire water system to get the water to the houses so it could be used for wastewater.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we could send a big bill to the water department. No, the other way around. We
Yeah.
can send a big bill, we'll have Alan write it out to the wastewater department from the
Yeah.
water department
Yeah,
saying,
Is there a wastewater department officially? Did I miss it?
yeah.
sometimes.
All right, let's get back
All right.
to wastewater emergency fund.
I don't like that.
All right, give me some. Wastewater
Uh,
repair.
I wish I had a thesaurus in front of me. I mean,
I have one.
we don't have
Wastewater capital fund.
wastewater,
It's the emergency repair fund. I mean,
Yeah.
all right.
That's what it is.
I'm open to
There's
suggestions.
no other source.
It's not
Yeah.
update.
It's not updates. These
not-
are
right.
like,
There
See,
unexpected things that
Well, I
are, you
guess-
know are gonna happen at some point.
I guess, semantics
Unanticipated, yeah.
is, maybe emergency is not the right word.
Right, you know why? Because it has to be more specific to the infrastructure. Because emergency, it could be,
And
yeah.
someone could also argue that the float, backup flow
Right.
control is not an emergency.
Right.
If you say maintenance, they're gonna try to throw it out of the capital plan.
there you go, miscellaneous maintenance.
No, they won't accept it in the capital plan. They'll call it maintenance and they'll say no.
Because it's in the budget.
Miscellaneous supplies.
I think we play with this for a day or two. I don't think we try to solve it
Yeah,
now.
yeah. There is a tentative, there is a word.
Right, I'm just,
And I
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
running up the wood trying to, you know,
Conservation, preservation. Wanna
something,
pass that
I
over
think
to
it's-
her?
I think it'll hit us.
when you miss,
Unforeseen.
Unforeseen, yeah. Unexpected, surprise.
I don't
What do you
know.
call it
When the shit hits the fan?
When Scott has his
When the shit hits
his
the
line item
fan.
for
unforeseen
repairing
spot.
your building, stuff like that.
It's buildings and grounds maintenance.
But that's in the budget, right?
Shitty day.
Yeah.
There you go.
This is unexpected, unplanned.
Emergency
Unplanned emergency.
repairs, emergency infrastructure, emergency system repair,
I'm
system failure.
thinking what's another word for reinforcement? Like, you know, we're, it's like, I'm thinking of the backup flow control. This is,
Oh, the secondary.
it's
It's whenever you have,
resilience, I mean, to some
Resilience,
extent, but
yeah.
it's,
whenever you have shortcomings.
Yeah.
Infrastructure replacement.
it's an unforeseen need.
Unforeseen.
It's not hitting me right
Need.
this minute.
I know, it's an unforeseen need. We weren't anticipating it.
So can we just leave that, I mean, if it's only 75,000, can we just leave that in the budget for now? Until our system gets bigger and we need a line item there?
I think you just hit the nail on the head. Unexpected, unforeseen expenses.
Unanticipated.
Instead of just miscellaneous. I mean, they're gonna be totally unforeseen for sure.
Right.
You know, so I would lean into, you know, if you don't need it, you don't spend it.
Right.
That's it.
And putting it in the budget, you know, we put it in the, if we put 75 grand in the budget, right, now we've taken ultimately from the general fund 75,000, and if something doesn't come up, that now goes into sewer retained earnings,
Yeah.
which we could reappropriate in the future, but we've now siphoned money off, and then we either have to reappropriate in our budget the following year, or take it out of retained earnings, and then the whole, I guess, what makes it fruitful in my mind is that if you don't spend it, you can carry it forward.
Right.
You're not taking.
Yeah, I get it, I understand, I'm just trying to, like,
I think
You know,
We'll come up with a
Yeah.
line.
the next,
unforeseen is
the
good.
next 5 or 6 years, I would think that would be a legitimate thing.
Yeah.
Because it is totally, we're renewing the game.
Right.
So I would lean that way.
all right, let's just clean up the language for the water. We'll add the well rehab maintenance for the 150, and whatever terminology you can come up with for the emergency fund.
Yeah.
And get that on here, and then we'll vote on that.
So do we want to make a motion to vote on that today?
Well, I don't know how we're gonna vote on the wastewater
Well, I mean,
language.
we
Well,
can,
we'll clean it up and then we can take a vote.
Yeah, if we can meet the second,
okay.
if that's the only, you know, it's just verbiage at that point.
You know where you're going with it.
I like the unforeseen.
All right, let's go on to Route 28, 551 Route 28, payment plan for the water service.
Yeah.
Excuse me, one quick question. Is this about that 3,500?
3.5 million?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
All right. So 551 Route 28 is a very, very, very unique situation. It is behind hot stove.
What?
It is the hot stove on 28.
Oh.
There is a residential lot, a residential house out back behind the hot stove. The water meter for this residential property is in the basement of the hot stove. So the property owner can't even get access to the shut-off valves at his meter because if the hot stove's closed, or without going behind the bar of the hot stove into the basement to get to his meter.
Okay.
We also believe that the water service tubing that was used to plumb from the hot stove to the property is irrigation tubing, not actual stuff that we use for the water.
It is, that works.
Yeah. So I've talked to this property owner a handful of times, and they're doing a bunch of septic system upgrades to the hot stove, and when I saw that come across my desk, I figured, hey, we should probably reach out, because if they're gonna be digging a trench through there, it'd probably be the right time to get the meter outside of the hot stove and get this done right.
Okay.
The driveway, if you're looking at the hot stove to the right to get out back, is not actually their property.
There
So-
being the hot stove or the back,
It's all one lot. I don't know how
yeah.
it works, but they're all tied together. It's so their property's someone else. I think it's whoever the building to the right of them is.
I think we're just getting confused when you say there, you mean the
I know, sorry.
homeowner or the,
Yeah, it's not the homeowner nor hot stoves,
Oh,
my
the
understanding.
third.
That's the blue building.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that, wow.
So we can't just trench a new water main in across that driveway. So the only way to install a water service to this property is to directional drill between the gap that's about this wide between the hot stove and the building to the left of the hot stove.
The liquor store?
Yes.
Can you ask permission to go through the driveway and then repave the driveway? I mean, is that,
It's
I
a dirt
believe-
road, it's a dirt driveway,
On the right?
right by the real estate office?
Yeah, I think it's paved.
Is that paved?
I
Okay.
think, yeah, the
Yeah, the real estate office.
simple
Yeah.
tar,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I believe the property owner, I know the property owners reached out to the people on both sides of him in the back. I forget the name of the side road that cuts through down by the beach there, but there's a walking path that goes through from behind the liquor store out towards the beach with a little easement, but
I think it's, yeah, it's off of Bank Street, Braddock, I think.
yeah, Braddock, it's off of Braddock. But there's no clear knowledge of who owns the easement. Long story short, the only way we can get a water service in is to directionally drill one from Route 28 through the tiny little gap between those buildings. Having said that, the directional drilling costs are almost $12,000. And everything else that comes with working on Route 28. So he wants to do this, but he's got kids in college and was asking if he could do a payment plan and spread this out over a year, given that it's a $18,000 water service.
So this is, bills on him.
Yes.
I would approve a payment plan.
I have no problem with that, I'm just trying to figure out what, the meter is in the hot stove, which isn't a building he owns.
Did they split up the property
It
at
used to
one
be one
point?
property.
It used to be
Right,
one-
yeah, obviously it was one property,
It
but
actually belongs,
so how many meters are on this property for all these buildings? And where are those meters?
I believe everything goes into the hot stove, but I think it's just the hot stove and the guy out back. I think it's just those 2 meters.
The real estate office doesn't have a
And
one?
they have their own,
the hot stove owned all of, the people who lived in the hot stove, they owned all of that at one time.
yeah.
I never realized it had, but there was always a little dirt road in there, you know, that pavement now.
Yeah.
And over the years, you know, the family that was there, you know, they've moved on and, we used to have a dance studio with a hot stove. So over time, you know, I think the water service got off the hot stove. Somebody owned it in between and did the house, so.
Yeah, it comes right out the back of the hot stove.
So how do the homeowners access their property?
There's a
Through
road
that
there.
driveway to the right of the real estate.
So they have an easement or a right of way?
I don't know if it's legal easement or not a legal easement, if it's a handshake deal, I'm not sure.
Noreen?
so, those other homes that are in that area, how are they getting water?
They're all not the retreat lots, you know, so there's a water main on Braddock that, you know, feeds the house directly behind them.
Okay,
We proposed to him that he try and reach out to those
Right.
neighbors to let them get a service through their property.
right.
They wouldn't allow it, or they just had the septic done and they would be
Okay.
going through the septic.
So the water service on Braddock goes to the end of Braddock, and the people don't want it to go through their home, but isn't there any way into this house directly off Braddock in the back?
No. Because
Thank you.
sketch.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up here.
I mean, I'm sure you'll check all these
Yeah, I've been meeting with this guy honestly for a couple of years.
Yeah, okay, so there's really just no other way to, it just, and if there's other homes,
Sure.
it almost seems like if he's gonna directionally drill, if there's some place to leave a pit or an opening,
We're gonna put a pit at the street.
okay, in case another home was built or squeezed in there, so you would already at least have a way to get water to some additional home.
To that house,
That's hostile right there.
so
Oh, what you got?
it would be that.
There's Braddock.
All these technical people, I like your idea.
So this is Braddock,
Yeah,
hot stove's down here.
Hot stove.
This guy won't let him come through here. These people just got their septic here, his septic is here, so we have to stay off it, you
and
know,
where's the hot stove?
down here.
Okay,
Route 28
Yeah.
is here.
yeah.
So he's locked out from the back.
Yeah,
He was gonna try to get an easement from Cape,
So right back
people that
here.
just bought, that
Yeah,
built the
so
new
that's
building.
the hot
Someone just
stove.
bought the liquor store, I believe,
Is,
but
I think this building is the blue one. It's
They have
the,
their own-
okay, so here's another
And then-
question.
and then this is like an old.
I'm wondering if this would
sometimes
qualify
uses a
for,
I see.
gallery or something, but it's.
I wonder if this would qualify for the
Yeah, this is
Barnstable
hot
Aqua Fund.
stove, and this is back
I don't
here.
think so, because
Can
water.
you roll it down?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, well, it's set, well,
Here's 28.
it's
Here's
not,
the
it's
liquor
not a
store.
septic service that they need. How do they
In the liquor
deal with their
store, right
septic
here.
service right now?
Go up this way.
This way.
It's on-site, Title
Hot
V,
stove.
Right,
out in the back,
And then
So
there's,
it's in here.
okay.
it's in
right
here.
here.
Yeah, gotcha, yeah.
What, is there a number on that? Oh, 551. So
It's just
551,
not showing up on
549.
Google.
You know, if they
Must
could,
be part of this.
if they could
house in the
somehow,
back, right?
So
Um,
555. See,
relate
that's in here
this.
somewhere.
Yeah.
to their septic system.
It's gotta be 50.
You know, I mean, I realize it's water, but eventually it becomes
Yeah.
part of their septic system. There's even that tax fund, 40% of that is 8,000, you know,
I know, and I've had that conversation with him, because at some point he's gonna be required to connect to sewer,
right,
you know.
right. But you know what I'm
Also,
saying,
it
I'm
is
wondering
all
if
in
we
the
should
same
tell
building.
him about
Yeah,
that
yeah.
tax credit and see
There
if
it is.
there's any
There's
way.
an apartment on the
I think, I wanna say he's
second
got a
floor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
new septic
Got
also.
it.
And it's a second home, so he wouldn't qualify anyway.
Oh, well, that was
So
gonna be my next
the
question.
task before us right now is the request for a payment plan. And I believe the board is in favor of a
Yeah.
payment plan.
Yeah.
So let's move on.
Yeah. Right. Guys,
See, this was the nice one in the packet.
See, I printed, and that's what I
Oh,
don't know.
not like the commissioners.
It's all you.
All right. So in the packet is a early draft for FY25 Water Enterprise Fund expenses. Salary and wages we'll bring back, but those are contractual, so there's not much wiggle room we have on them. To just go through a lot of these, the first one, contractual wage increase, for the new field staff contract, electric utility, an increase based on usage, vehicle and equipment maintenance based on actuals. The big increases, we have a big increase in the building and grounds maintenance. We had started a project with Scotty to put the primary electric cables for this whole well field underground, get pad mount transformers and run fiber optics out to the Route 39 tank. This is, I will just qualify as a placeholder. Now that we brought our electrician on board just a few weeks ago, I just had a chance to drive around with him and go through kind of all these projects. So I'm going to put him on getting price quotes for the remaining materials to complete these projects. So I will be looking to come back to you with an updated figure as we get further into the budget cycle, but this is one of the capital projects we're hoping to fund within the operating budget. I'm just going to hit the big ones if that's
Yep.
okay. Building maintenance agreements, we've decreased based on actuals. Same with printing, increased based on actuals. Telephone, we reduced because of the Microsoft 365 conversion, so we're able to dump our Comcast voice. However, we may see a portion of that come back through indirect expenses because the town is now putting the bill for the MS365 account. Communication services, increased based on actuals, same for propane and office supplies. Hardware, software, and office, we had included an estimate of our placeholder for $20,000 to replace the big multi-function printer here in the office. We have treatment supplies, increased based on actuals. For jumping down to public works supplies, I've added a $65,000 placeholder. I'm hoping to include in the budget funding to replace our leak detection equipment. Out of the, I want to say 40 to 60 loggers that we got prior to me coming on board, jointly with the town of Orleans, we have 4 of them left. We are required biannually every 2 years to do leak detection and test the whole distribution system. So it is, I would argue, a need of the department. And that was, those are actual based on quotes, so we've already got quotes for that work, or those materials. Pipes, valves, and fittings, moving a little bit further down, we have a decrease based on FY23 actuals. And I have placeholder increases for police details and road repairs. If we are going to be doing 2-inch water main replacement and things of that nature, we are going to have an additional police details needed, and we'll have to do substantially more paving. If we're running a water main down the whole road, we'll have trench paving and things like that. Generator maintenance has been reduced based on actuals. Well rehab, if we're going forward with the capital item, we can strike that from the budget. Water Management Act permit, small increase of $1,500. The state has been inching up their Water Management Act permit fee, so that's just to reflect the increase to that. Debt, I would say, is still TBD, only because I need to reach out to the bond company, or not the bond company, bond advisors, to discuss with them as to when we may actually see debt payments for the Route 28 water main work. Where DOT has pushed out what we're calling Phase 1 of the Route 28 project until October, and we're potentially going to be ready for bidding this spring for the other portion. I don't know when, if they're going to do that through 2 separate borrowings or 1 borrowing, so I got to do a little bit more investigation to see when that debt's going to hit and if we need to adjust that line item for FY25. Those are the highlights.
All right.
On, not in the packet, but wastewater budget, you may recall from last year, we are heavily impacted by Chatham's budget cycle. They have to develop their budget in order for us to then develop ours. They've had a major turnover in staffing. Bob Duncanson's no longer there, the DPW director is no longer there, the finance director is no longer there, so
Wow.
I'm going to be reaching out to Tom Barr. He used to work for Weston and Sampson on the wastewater treatment plant side of things. He's the deputy DPW director over there now, so I'm going to see if I can set up a meeting with him to start to hash out and bring them all up to speed.
Are they gonna use the budget you put together for them last year?
For invoicing us this current fiscal year?
Or use it as a template that you put together for them last year?
Yes.
Because we needed it for our budget,
Yeah.
and we weren't getting anywhere, that you put together for them last year?
The big unknowns this year is that their contract operations contract with Weston and Sampson is due to be rebid, so there could be a major upheaval, whether Weston and Sampson gets the bid again, or another contract operations vendor, what the pricing would be, so that's a big unknown at this point.
So, you know, we've had some history with some companies, and, you know, so if it were our own bid, there might be some companies that we might not look on as favorably, you know, because certainly when you do bids, you also take into account performance, not just the low price. So if Chatham were to consider awarding the bid to one of those companies that didn't work out as favorably for Harwich, what position would we be in?
So, we could proceed in one of two ways. Before I go there, I would just throw out, I believe, more often than not, if, right now it's Weston and Sampson.
Right.
For example, if Veolia comes in and wins the bid, I want to say a lot of the times, they end up hiring the people from Weston and Sampson who are local, who work on the plant.
Right.
And it's just a different, you know, heading on the letter.
Yeah.
If we were not satisfied with, you know, the company that was selected, we would have to have them bid their con-op scope with us as an ad alternate.
I see.
That would enable us, if we weren't happy, to step away from the bid
Right.
and then do our own contract operations bid. But reading between the lines, I don't know that we've had bad experiences with any of the people who do contract operations.
That's true.
Vendors.
That's true, yeah. You're right. You're right. So, just an item for
Yeah.
discussion. You know, it would seem odd to reward a firm that caused us pain,
Yeah.
you know, many years ago, even if it may have been a different division. I mean, that's just a gut reaction.
One of the big things that, and benefits, at least during the time of Bob Duncanson over in Chatham, was access to their equipment. Chatham had reservations about if we had a different contract operator, they'd have reservations about us using their back truck or any of their equipment because they weren't
Yeah.
formally, officially trained on it, insurance liability, so I think there is some benefit.
Right,
And we're such a small lift
yeah.
for, on top of what they're doing.
Well, I'm gonna hope it all works out, and we'll see great prices.
Also with that, Dan?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Route 28 water main replacement project.
So, GHD, the design team, is, you know, working on wrapping up the design drawings for both contracts, the DOT scope and our own portion of the scope. They're hoping to have those done by January, and they're leaving about 1 or 2 months for DOT to complete their review. And then we will conceivably be ready at that point, March thereabouts, to put the Lower County Road to the bridge portion out to bid. I've also had them working on the bid specifications for the insertion valve machine that we are purchasing as part of this project to begin installing the valves where we don't have any that work. So that will be coming hopefully a lot sooner than the bid for the actual construction. They're wrapping the bid up for that now.
Good.
So that was it.
All right. First quarter billing update.
So I put this in there, I think, you know, when we budget every year, we budget, you know, in anticipation of a wet year. What will the wet year look like? What will it do to our rates? And I just wanted to bring, you know, the revenue projections for this past summer quarter in with the actual billing amount. Our Q1 revenue projection has a 1.962 million. For water consumption, we billed 1.94 million. So it was almost,
Pardon me?
it was almost exactly, we were right there.
We're pumping more this year than we did last year, right?
No. No, at the last meeting, the trend line for last year had just crossed this year. They were actually at the exact same volume the last time they looked at it. So I think now we're probably up over where we were last year, but
Any idea where the water table is?
thank you for asking. I have
Well, Maureen likes to read these.
I hate these. They're like
The lower the
upside
number, the
down.
better.
The lower the better, the lower the better.
So blue is current year, the, we'll call it brownish line on the bottom, last year.
Wow.
And the gray is the median.
So the brownish on the bottom is what again?
Last year.
Okay,
22.
Well, that's a good trend
Yeah.
and the blue in the middle is the
this year.
Correct.
Current?
now. And what's that little gray one?
The median.
The median of what? The median of 10
Median
years?
water level, averaged out, for
Our-
historical data for
5
this.
years, 10 years?
Okay,
This goes back
okay,
a ways, but yeah, it's the average of all the prior year's data
Right.
for these time periods.
so even with all that water,
Yeah,
That, yeah.
yeah. If we're close to that gray line, we're in good shape.
right, but even with all that rain we got, we're still not at our historical median.
Right.
Reverse.
It's making its way down there, making
So
its way.
the water's
Which is
higher?
that's
It's
the
filtering. It's filtering.
evapotranspiration that,
Especially
It's much higher than,
when we
It's
really
filtering.
needed it to be.
Did you have your thoughts for the,
Ended up.
first quarter
This
billing?
is life, shit.
yes.
And this is the norm.
Pardon me?
I just,
so we
it gives me
need to go
confidence
higher.
as we start to look for, we had a potential rate
Yeah.
increase earmarked for
Yeah.
Yeah.
25, just increases the confidence in
Yeah, I definitely feel better about
Well,
that.
I do too,
All right,
especially when you consider,
Be interesting to see about
no
this
new
one.
business, superintendent's report.
Ted covered most of it already. The drillers are gonna be coming out at the end of the month to start the installation of the 8-inch test well in North Harwich. The SCADA vendor was supposed to be out this week. I reached out to them to see where they're at schedule-wise, but they were supposed to come out this week to deploy we have separating the wastewater and the water SCADA systems, so they're about ready to come and do the field installation for that. And I just got notified that the transfer switches for the T1 generator and the Station 8 generator are available for us to pick up, so we can start doing the preliminary installation while they're still working on building the generators themselves. That's it.
We pumped 33 million gallons more this year than last year?
You know?
Can I ask a question
Yes.
on that? I think it was a few months ago, we had a conversation about private wells, and those come under the jurisdiction of the state. Is that any regulations on that, or is that a town?
For like
Regulated?
private irrigation wells, or,
Well, yeah, because house water, they, as long as they're within our system, they can reach our system, they have to use the system, correct?
no.
they don't have to.
They don't have to.
Ultimately, all drinking water, residential drinking water wells, I want to say even irrigation ones are permitted through the health department. And it's not up until, at least my understanding is it's not up until you exceed like 100,000 gallons per day of withdrawal that you are triggered with a withdrawal permit from the state.
Okay.
There may be a lower threshold, but we're
We're
so
still
much
in
bigger than
good
that.
shape. It's not a concern. If, you know, 40 people a year are getting their own wells,
I don't know.
40 new applicants?
wasn't in the last year, I think there were permits pulled.
Hey,
Something like that. I could be wrong.
I don't remember.
I
know, I feel like,
I mean, maybe it doesn't matter because it's all coming out of the same bucket.
well, also proximity matters, right? So, you know, the zone of contribution to our wells only goes so far. You know, when you think about the Zone 2 water protection district areas in town, you know, those are indicative of the furthest lengths we could pull water if we had 180 days of zero precipitation. And even those are conservative. So, I mean, if you put a well anywhere outside, even within that, say, more than 50% away from the well, you're probably never gonna have a direct impact on the water supply.
Okay, thanks.
All right, do you have anything else?
No.
All right, Commissioners report. Mr. Thompson? Ms. Underwood? Ms. Donahue?
Well, just one question. It's kind of early, but time passes quickly. I think this year there's probably going to be petition articles again on fertilizers and additionally on pesticides. And, you know, I have a feeling this board may be asked its opinion, and I guess I'm relying on Dan to give us some background at some point on some of those topics, because I don't have a background in pesticides. So I don't really know what to say beyond that, maybe just to alert us that,
I've been trying to get, I know Sean's been incredibly busy over at golf. I know the rain this year has made his life absolutely miserable. Apparently too much rain is not good for the golf course. We have almost all of the plots, with the exception of the clover and the Cape Cod lawn that Sean was going to do over at the Lothrop tank as part of our kind of public outreach project. I would say it would be my position that the town maintain the position of public education and demonstration.
Yep.
As opposed to, and I know that that there's talks about the banning of the fertilizer already, so I'm trying to get Sean, when it's time to wrap this up, so that when those articles come forward, we can have something, this completed project to say, look, this is our position.
You know, I think you told me that you had 2 sections of it done and we're waiting on Sean for the 3rd. Is there, can you get good pictures of at least the 2/3 done? I'm just thinking that come spring, you know, when it's still all nasty out, those pictures might be valuable to show, or maybe not, you know, but on a website or whatever, you know, if you can stand with your back to the 3rd that's not done, you know.
And that was my hope.
Yeah.
My hope was to have all summer long, to be quite honest.
I know.
Photos going through, but they kept getting delayed, and now it's grass season, but.
Yep.
All set? Noreen?
Yes,
Mr.
thank
Goff?
you, sorry.
Also,
Just so everyone knows, the MMA is being held January 18th and 20th at the Heinz Convention Center. So if you're interested in going, let Sandy know, and she will register you.
19th and 20th?
19th and 20th, yep.
I haven't been to one of those in 30 years.
Probably hasn't changed.
Oh, boy. If you're going, I'm going. If you're going, I'm going. That's all I have. All right, so our next meeting is looking like the November 2nd.
Did you say you won't be here?
I will not be here.
Does that mean that I have to fill in for you, Gary?
Yes, it does. which just, it's like, no, it would be a normal meeting for you, so don't worry. It's like I'm not even here, so don't even worry.
Are we voting them out?
Yeah. Actually, you keep that.
No.
Quarter. All right, so same time for you, well, I'm not gonna be here, so whatever you guys want, whatever. If you want to stick with the 11:30 to 1:30,
Second at 11:30?
I'm sorry, say the date again.
November 2nd, it's the Thursday, 11:30 to 1:30.
I guess.
Good.
All right, there's a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.